Welcome. Tonight, I will be your narrator. It started as a dream come true. A high-paying remote job for a broke student shivering in a cold Chicago apartment. But that dream was actually a trap. Tonight, we witness how a logistics coordinator unwittingly became a federal fugitive, forced to choose between the Russian mob's violent blackmail and the FBI agents waiting to kick down her door. If you enjoy listening to these tales, please remember to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is there. I never thought the sound of clear packing tape ripping off a dispenser would become a trigger for panic attacks. Most people hear that screeching noise and think of moving day or birthday presents. I hear it and I smell the stale air of a federal holding cell. I see the disappointed look on my public defender's face when she told me the restitution amount. This isn't a ghost story. No monsters live under my bed. The monster lived in my inbox, and I invited it into my living room because I needed to pay rent. Let me take you back to Chicago in November. If you live here, you know that specific shade of gray the sky turns. It hangs over the loop like a wet wool blanket. I lived in a drafty studio in Rogers Park, way up north. The wind off Lake Michigan rattled my window frames every night. I studied graphic design at DePaul, but my loans dried up and the coffee shop where I worked cut my hours to nothing. I had $74 in my bank account. My landlord, a guy named Kowalski who smelled permanently of boiled cabbage, slid a note under my door. Rent due in 3 days. Eviction followed 5 days after that. Desperation makes you stupid. It shuts down the part of your brain that spots red flags. I scoured Craigslist, Indeed, LinkedIn. I applied for everything: data entry, dog walking, night shift janitorial work. Then I saw it on a site that looked totally legitimate. Logistics coordinator, remote. Salary, $2,500 monthly plus commission. No experience necessary. Must be organized and prompt. It looked like a lifeline. I clicked apply. The company called themselves Next Gen Global Logistics. Their website looked slick. Stock photos of smiling people and headsets, airplanes taking off, shipping containers stacked in neat rows. I submitted my resume. The next morning, I got an email from Sarah. No last name. She wanted an interview via a chat app called Wire. I remember sitting at my wobbly kitchen table, wearing my best blouse just in case they asked for a video call, though they never did. The interview happened entirely through text. Sarah, we handle international forwarding for clients who cannot purchase items directly from U.S. retailers due to geo-restrictions. You receive the package, you inspect it, you relabel it, you ship it out. Simple. It made sense. I knew people in Europe sometimes couldn't buy certain electronics from American stores. I acted as the bridge. Sarah sent me a contract. It had logos, legal jargon, and a signature line. I signed it. I sent them a photo of my Illinois driver's license and a selfie holding it just as they asked. Standard identity verification, I thought. I got the job. I celebrated with a $3 bottle of wine. I didn't know I had just signed my own death warrant. The first package arrived on a Tuesday. I remember the weight of it. A heavy cardboard box from a high-end camera store in New York. I opened it. Inside sat a Canon DSLR, the kind that costs $3,000. My instructions appeared in the Wire app immediately. Sarah, inspect for damage, repack into a plain box, print the attached label, Ship to this address in Tallinn, Estonia. Mark as gift and value at $50. I did exactly as told. I bought bubble wrap, I taped it up tight, I walked to the post office on Devon Avenue, fighting the biting wind, feeling useful. I felt professional. I uploaded the tracking number. 2 hours later, a notification pinged my phone. A direct deposit of $100. My commission. I stared at the screen. That was more money than I made in an entire shift at the coffee shop. The relief washed over me so hard I almost cried. I paid my electric bill instantly. The next week, the volume increased. It went from 1 box to 5, then 10. My studio apartment transformed. Brown boxes stacked against the wall, blocking the view of the alley. Laptops, Dyson vacuums, designer handbags, gaming consoles. It looked like Christmas morning every single day. I developed a routine. Wake up, check wire, open the door for UPS, FedEx, DHL, inspect, repack, print labels, run to the post office. The clerks started to know me. "Busy season, huh?" they would ask. I just smiled and nodded, feeling important. I was a logistics coordinator. I paid Kowalski his rent early. I bought actual groceries, not just ramen. The crack in the facade appeared 3 weeks in. A package from a large electronics retailer arrived damaged. The corner looked crushed in. I had to open it to check the merchandise. 2 top-tier gaming laptops. They looked fine, but inside the box, stuck to the bottom of the packing slip, I found the original invoice. Usually I just tossed these, but this one caught my eye. Billed to Arthur P. Henderson. Billing address, Scottsdale, Arizona. I froze. My instructions said the client's name was Dmitry Volkov. I looked at the order details. The credit card used ended in 4098. I sat on my floor surrounded by styrofoam peanuts. Why would Arthur from Arizona buy 2 laptops and ship them to me in Chicago just so I could send them to Russia? Doubt is a cold thing. It started in my stomach and spread to my fingers. I went to my laptop. I didn't search for next-gen global logistics this time. I went deeper. I typed in reshipping job scam. The results hit me like a physical blow. Forum posts, warnings from the Postal Inspection Service, articles from security blogs. The mule scam. Criminals use stolen credit cards to buy goods. They ship them to a mule, you. You ship them overseas. You are the fence. You are the one caught on camera at the post office. I felt bile rise in my throat. I looked at the stack of boxes waiting in my hallway. 5 iPhones, a drone, a set of gold watches. These weren't clients. These were thefts. I wasn't a coordinator. I was a shield. I took the risks so the criminals in Eastern Europe didn't have to. Panic set in. Real, blind panic. I grabbed my phone and opened the Wire app. I needed out. I needed to distance myself immediately. Me, I can't do this anymore. I think this is illegal. I quit. I waited. The 3 dots appeared, then stopped, then appeared again. Sarah, you have packages in your possession. Ship them today. Me, no. I'm sending them back to the stores. Do not contact me again. I thought that was it. I thought I could just walk away. I stood up to find the return labels for the boxes. Then my phone buzzed. A photo. It took a second for my brain to process what I looked at. It was a picture of my parents' house in Naperville. A Google Street View shot, sure. But then another photo followed. This one looked different. It showed a scan of my driver's license, the one I sent them. Then, a scan of my passport. We have your information, Sophia. We know where your parents live. We know where you live. If you steal our merchandise, we will report you to the police for theft. We will send drugs to your address and call the cops ourselves. Or maybe we just pay a visit to Naperville. The temperature in my apartment seemed to drop 20 degrees. This wasn't a job. This was a hostage situation. I sat there for hours as the sun went down. The shadows of the boxes lengthened across the floor, looking like city skylines of guilt. If I went to the police, I'd admitted to federal crimes. If I didn't ship the boxes, they threatened my family. I made the worst choice.
I chose fear. I stood up, I packed the iPhones, I packed the drone. My hands shook so bad I could barely hold the tape gun. Screech, rip, screech, rip. The sound tore through the silence of the apartment. I felt like I was sealing my own coffin. I shipped them. I sent the tracking numbers. I hoped, stupidly, that if I just finished this batch, they would let me go. They didn't. More boxes came the next day, and the next. I lived in a state of constant high-wire terror. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. Every time a car door slammed outside on the street, I flinched. I watched the mailman approach my building with dread. Was today the day? I tried to act normal. I went to class, but I couldn't hear the professor. All I could think about was the trail of stolen credit card numbers leading directly to my front door. I was the choke point. Arthur from Arizona wouldn't report the theft to the Russians. He would report it to the store, who would track the shipment to my address. I started leaving the lights off in my apartment. I figured if I looked like I wasn't home, maybe the deliveries would stop. They didn't. The drivers just left the boxes in the lobby. My neighbors started complaining about the clutter. I had to drag the stolen goods upstairs, sweating, crying silent tears. I became a ghost in my own life. I laundered thousands of dollars of merchandise a week. I was a criminal, and I couldn't tell a soul. The end didn't come with a bang. It came on a Tuesday morning, quiet and gray, just like the day I found the job. I had just poured coffee. I hadn't even taken a sip. Knock, knock, knock. Heavy. Authoritative. Not the rhythmic tap of a delivery driver. This sounded like wood splintering. Police! Federal agents! Open the door! My heart didn't race. It stopped. A strange calm washed over me. The waiting ended. I walked to the door. I didn't even check the peephole. I unlocked the deadbolt and opened it. The hallway swarmed with them. Vests that said USPIS and FBI. Guns drawn, pointed at the floor, but ready. A man in a windbreaker stepped forward. He looked tired. Sophia Miller? Yes, I whispered. Turn around, hands behind your back. They didn't rough me up. They didn't need to. I crumpled. As they walked me out, I saw my neighbors peeking through their cracked doors. Mrs. Gable from 4B looked at me with pure disgust. She didn't see a scared student. She saw a criminal. They raided the apartment. They took my laptop. They took the stack of unmailed boxes. They took the tape gun. The interrogation room felt exactly like you imagine. Cold metal table, two-way mirror. The man in the windbreaker sat across from me. He dropped a thick file on the table. You've been busy, Sophia. We've been tracking this ring for 6 months. You moved over $200,000 in stolen goods. I didn't know, I sobbed. Not at first, then they threatened me. He looked at me, not with sympathy, but with exhaustion. They always say that. But you kept cashing the checks, didn't you? You kept shipping. He slid a paper across the table. It listed the victims. Real people. Teachers, nurses, retirees, people whose bank accounts got drained so I could pay my rent. I tried to stop, I pleaded. But you didn't call us, he replied. You protected yourself. That makes you an accomplice. The legal process moves slow, like a glacier grinding down a mountain. My public defender, a woman who looked like she hadn't slept in a week, laid it out for me. Mail fraud, wire fraud, receiving stolen property. The feds don't lose, she told me. If we go to trial, you're looking at 10 years, minimum. I took the plea deal. I didn't go to prison for 10 years, but I didn't walk away. I served 18 months in a federal camp in West Virginia. But the time inside wasn't the real punishment. The real punishment is now. I'm 26 years old. I have a federal felony on my record. Do you know what kind of job you can get with a fraud conviction? Nothing. No retail, no office work, no handling money. I wash dishes at a diner off the highway now. Cash under the table because no one else will hire me. The restitution order stands at $140,000. They garnish every legitimate paycheck I will ever earn. I will never own a home. I will never have good credit. Sometimes I look up Next Gen Global Logistics. The site is gone. But last week, I saw a new ad on a job board. Different company name, same stock photos. Shipping manager, remote, high pay. I stared at it. I could hear the sound of the tape gun screeching in my ears. I could smell the cardboard. I closed the laptop and went to wash dishes. The monster is still out there, hungry. And somewhere, right now, another student is celebrating a job offer, not knowing they just sold their life for a monthly commission.
People pay me for silence. That is the commodity. Not advice, not medication, not empathy. Silence. My office on the Upper East Side, right off Fifth Avenue, costs a fortune not because of the mahogany desk or the view of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, but because the walls are soundproofed to military standards. My clients are the people you see on the front page of the New York Times or starring in the latest HBO drama. They come to me to vomit their darkest impulses, and I catch it all in a bucket, seal it tight, and bury it. Or at least, that was the deal. I remember the morning the deal broke. It was a Tuesday in November, one of those gray, biting days where the wind whips off the Central Park Reservoir and cuts right through your coat. I arrived at the clinic at 7:30 a.m. My receptionist, Sarah, usually had a double espresso waiting for me. That day, she stood behind her desk, hands gripping the marble edge until her knuckles turned white. She didn't speak. She just pointed at her monitor. I walked around the desk. The screen did not show the scheduler or the billing software. It displayed a black background with a crude red skull logo and a countdown timer ticking backward in bright green digital numbers. Lockbit 3.0. Underneath the skull, a message in broken English. All your files are encrypted. We have downloaded 4 terabytes of sensitive data, medical records, audio logs, personal notes. Contact us via Tor browser within 72 hours or we publish. My stomach dropped. It felt like missing a step on a staircase, that sudden lurch of gravity betraying you. I rushed to my office, slammed the door, and woke my computer. The same red skull stared back. I tried to open the local drive. Locked. I tried the backup server we kept in the closet down the hall. Locked. I called Gary, my IT contractor. He picked up on the first ring, breathless. He knew. He tried to explain it to me later that morning, sweating through his shirt in my air-conditioned waiting room. He mumbled about RDP ports, about a phishing email someone in billing clicked 3 weeks ago, about lateral movement. I didn't care about the mechanics. I cared that 10 years of New York's elite confessing their sins were now in the hands of invisible criminals in Russia or North Korea. Restore it, I demanded. Wipe the drives and restore from the cloud backup. Gary looked at the floor. Doc, they got the cloud credentials too. They deleted the backups before they encrypted the main servers. But that's not the worst part. He pulled up a screenshot on his phone. It was a forum post on the dark web. Lockbit didn't just want money to unlock my computers. They wanted money to keep the files off the internet. "It's double extortion," Gary whispered. I kicked him out and called the FBI. 2 agents arrived in cheap suits that looked even cheaper against my Eames chairs. Agent Miller did most of the talking. He looked tired. He told me this happened every day. He told me not to pay. If you pay, you mark yourself as a soft target, and there is no guarantee they delete the data. These are criminals, Dr. Thorne. There is no honor here. "These are medical records," I snapped. "These aren't credit card numbers. This is Senator Visual's confessed infidelity. This is a Broadway star's struggle with suicidal ideation. This is everything." "Don't pay," Miller repeated. "Stall them." I listened to him. That was my first mistake. I treated it like a business transaction. I thought I could negotiate, buy time, maybe hire a private firm to track them down. I sat in my office for 2 days, drinking stale coffee, watching the timer on the ransom note tick down. Then the phone calls started. The hackers didn't wait for the timer. They got impatient. They moved to triple extortion. They stopped talking to me and started talking to the victims.
The first call came from Julian, a hedge fund manager who worked out of a glass tower in Hudson Yards. He sounded small. "Eris," he choked out, "I just got an email. Subject line, your session from October 14th. I closed my eyes. October 14th. Julian had talked about his embezzlement scheme, the Ponzi structure he was using to cover losses in the Asian markets. "They want $50,000 in Bitcoin," Julian said, "or they send the audio file to the SEC and my wife. Eris, what the hell is going on?" "Don't pay it," I said, parroting the FBI. "It's a bluff." "They attached a sample, Eris. They have the audio." He hung up. 10 minutes later, a councilwoman called. Then a famous news anchor. The hackers had exfiltrated the contact list and were automating the emails. They demanded individual ransoms from the patients. $2,000 here, $50,000 there, depending on net worth. They priced the pain. My practice turned into a war zone. I unplugged the office phones. My cell phone vibrated so constantly it made my hand numb. I sat in the dark, the red glow of the ransomware skull illuminating the diplomas on my wall. I felt like a captain who had steered his ship into an iceberg, and now I had to watch the passengers drown one by one. The worst was Leo. Leo was 17. He wasn't famous. He was the son of a strictly religious family from Staten Island. His father was a deacon. Leo came to me because he was gay, terrified, and clinically depressed. Our sessions were his only safe space. I kept his notes handwritten, but I dictated summaries for the digital file. Patient expresses fear of physical retaliation from father if orientation is revealed. Suicidal ideation present, but manageable through containment strategy. I received an email on my personal account. They had hacked that too. It was a copy of the email they sent to Leo. Subject, tell your daddy. Body, we know you like boys, Leo. Does your father know? Pay us $500 or we send the attached PDF to the church mailing list. $500. That was the price of a boy's life? I tried to call Leo. It went straight to voicemail. I called his parents' house. No answer. I called the police in Staten Island and requested a wellness check. I told them it was urgent, a medical emergency. I spent that night pacing my apartment in Tribeca. I looked out at the Freedom Tower, the lights of the city blinking indifferently. I checked my bank accounts. I had the money. I could have paid the global ransom. $5 million. It would have wiped me out, forced me to sell the Hamptons house, liquidate the retirement funds, but I could have done it. Why didn't I do it? Because the FBI said no? Or because I was arrogant? I thought I could outsmart them. I thought I could bluff. I thought I was protected by the sanctity of my profession. The news broke the next morning. Not about the hack, that was still a rumor, but about the body found near the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. Leo didn't have $500. He didn't have a Bitcoin wallet. He had panic. He had shame. He had a terror so absolute
that the cold water of the harbor seemed like a warm embrace compared to the exposure of his secrets. I read the article on my tablet. Local teen tragic death. They didn't know why yet, but I knew. I threw the tablet across the room. It shattered against the exposed brick wall. I drove to the office. I didn't care about the traffic on the West Side Highway. I left my car in a bus zone. I marched upstairs. Sarah was gone. She had quit via text message an hour earlier. The office was silent. I sat at my desk. The timer on the screen had reached 0. A new message appeared. Payment not received. Negotiations failed. Have a nice day. I checked the dark web link Gary had given me. The page loaded slowly, the Onion browser chugging through the encrypted layers of the internet. It looked like a blog. A mundane, poorly designed blog. The title was simply, The Doctor.
Heiress Collection. There were folders, organized alphabetically. A, B, C. I clicked on S. Senator Stevens, Sorvino Maria, Stone Leo. They published it all. Every note, every audio file, every prescription. 10 years of intimate, agonizing confessions dumped onto the internet for anyone with a Tor browser to see. It didn't take long to migrate to the clear web. Journalists, if you can call them that, scoured the data. Twitter exploded. The hashtag #HeiressLeaks trended worldwide within an hour. I saw a tweet from a gossip account. OMFG, check out what the lead singer of band name did in Vegas in 2019. The transcript is wild. Hashtag #HeiressLeaks. They were consuming the trauma of my patients like popcorn. It wasn't a tragedy to the public, it was entertainment. It was reality TV, but real. My phone started ringing again. Not patients this time, lawyers. Dr. Thorne, I represent the estate of... Dr. Thorne, this is a class action notification regarding gross negligence. Dr. Thorne, the district attorney would like a word. I walked over to the window. I looked down at Fifth Avenue. The tourists were walking towards the Met, eating pretzels, taking selfies. Life went on. But down here, inside the glass and concrete, lives were ending. I saw a news van pull up outside my building. Then another. They were coming for the monster. That's what I was now. I wasn't the victim of a crime. I was the negligence that allowed it to happen. I was the vault with the open door. I thought about Leo. I thought about the email he received. I wondered if he waited for a response from me. I wondered if he called my office only to hear the busy signal because I had unplugged the phones to save my own sanity. I opened the safe behind my desk. I didn't keep patient files there anymore. I kept a bottle of Macallan 25 and a Smith & Wesson revolver I bought after a patient threatened me years ago. I poured the whiskey. I didn't touch the gun. That would be too easy. That would be an escape. I deserved to stay. I deserved to watch the empire burn. I sat in my leather chair, the one that cost $6,000, and took a sip. The whiskey tasted like copper. The door to my office burst open. It wasn't the police. It was Julian, the hedge fund manager. He looked deranged, his tie loose, his eyes red. He held a printed stack of papers, his transcripts. "You promised!" he screamed, spit flying across the room. "You promised confidentiality!" "I'm sorry, Julian," I said softly. He threw the papers in my face. They fluttered down like snow. I saw snippets of text as they fell. Fear of failure. Imposter syndrome. I hate my children. You're finished. You're dead. He stormed out. He was right. Dr. Heiress was dead. The man who fixed people was gone. I looked at the computer screen one last time. The red skull seemed to be grinning. I realized then the true horror of what had happened. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the lawsuits. It was the violation. The human mind is a house with no locks, and I had invited the world to walk in with muddy boots. I had let them film the nightmares. I picked up a piece of paper from the floor.
It was a note from a session with a young mother who fantasized about leaving her family. She never did it, she just needed to say it to keep from doing it. Now her husband would read it. Her children would read it. I had destroyed her family by writing down her thoughts. I took a pen from my desk. My hand didn't shake. I grabbed a fresh notepad. Patient, Eris Thorne. Diagnosis: narcissistic personality disorder with catastrophic failure of duty. Prognosis: terminal. I heard the sirens below. They were coming up. I didn't run. I didn't hide. I just sat there, surrounded by the printed secrets of 1,000 broken souls, and waited for the handcuffs to click shut. The silence I used to sell was gone, replaced by a noise that would never, ever stop.
The silence in our house in Naperville, Illinois, did not feel peaceful. It felt heavy. It pressed against the windows like the winter snow piling up outside. We had a 3-bedroom colonial on a quiet street, a 2-car garage, and a nursery painted a soft, hopeful yellow that we hadn't opened in 6 months. That yellow room cost us everything. Not the paint, but the hope inside it. 4 rounds of IVF, 3 miscarriages, 1 chemical pregnancy. The doctors used soft words like unexplained infertility and poor egg quality. But the numbers on the bank statements spoke a harder language. We drained the savings. We maxed the credit cards. We took a second mortgage. Miguel worked double shifts at the logistics center near O'Hare, and I picked up freelance graphic design work until my eyes burned, just to pay for another round of heartbreak. We hit the wall on a Tuesday in November. The specialist told us with practiced sympathy that we should consider other options. But other options in the U.S. meant agencies with 5-year waiting lists and background checks that felt like autopsies of your soul. We didn't have 5 years. We didn't have $50,000 for agency fees. We just had this desperate, clawing need to be parents. That night, I found the forum. It wasn't on the regular internet, not really. You had to dig. I started on support group boards, clicked through broken links, and ended up on a message board hosted on a server that seemed to bounce between Panama and Russia. The thread title was simple: International Adoption, Direct and Expedited. A user named Elena Caseworker posted success stories, pictures of smiling Americans holding infants in airports, no waiting lists, no bureaucracy, just legal fees and travel expenses. It's a gray area, Miguel said 3 nights later. He stared at my laptop screen, his face pale in the blue light. Laurette, this doesn't look official. Official means we never get a baby, I snapped. My patience had evaporated years ago. Look at this. His name is Jakub. I pulled up the photo Alina had sent. A baby boy, maybe 3 months old, big brown eyes, wrapped in a rough wool blanket. He looked perfect. He looked like ours. They locate children in difficult situations in Eastern Europe, mothers who can't afford them. We pay the medical bills, we pay the legal processing, we bring him home. It's humanitarian, Miguel. Miguel rubbed his face. He looked 10 years older than 35. How much? 15,000 now, 10,000 when we pick him up. He looked at the yellow nursery door. I saw the fight leave him. I'll call the bank about the loan. We communicated with Elena via an encrypted app. She sent documents that looked real, stamped with crests and eagles, signed by judges with unpronounceable names. We ignored the typos. We ignored the fact that she asked for the first payment in Bitcoin because international wire transfers take too long for urgent medical supplies. We bought the crypto. We sent it. The date was set for January. We flew into a capital city in Eastern Europe that smelled of diesel and coal. I won't name the country. It doesn't matter. Poverty looks the same everywhere when you get far enough from the tourist traps. A man met us at the airport. He held a cardboard sign that said, Miguel. He didn't look like a social worker. He looked like a bouncer for a dive bar. Thick neck, shaved head, and leather jacket stretched tight over broad shoulders. "I am Victor," he grunted. "Driver." "Where is Elena?" I clutched my bag tight. Inside, hidden in a money belt under my sweater, sat $10,000 in crisp $100 bills. The cash burned against my skin. Elena at the clinic, busy. We go now. He grabbed our suitcases before we could protest. We followed him to a beat-up van with tinted windows.
The city faded behind us, replaced by gray apartment blocks that looked like tombstones, then open fields covered in dirty snow. We drove for 3 hours. Miguel gripped my hand so hard his knuckles turned white. "This feels wrong," he whispered. "We are almost there," I hissed back. "Don't ruin this." But the knot in my stomach pulled tighter. The GPS on my phone had stopped working an hour ago. We were off the grid. The van slowed down near a cluster of industrial buildings on the edge of a dense forest. There were no signs, no adoption center logo, just high fences topped with razor wire and a rusted metal gate that Victor opened with a remote. We pulled up to a 2-story concrete building. The windows had bars. "Clinic," Victor said. He killed the engine. "You have money?" "We pay Elena," Miguel said, his voice steady but deep. "Inside." Victor laughed. It was a dry, ugly sound. "Okay, come." We stepped out. The cold hit us instantly, a biting wind that cut through our coats. The silence here was different than in Naperville. It wasn't peaceful. It was predatory. Victor led us through a heavy steel door. The inside smelled of bleach, stale tobacco, and something distinct: boiled cabbage and sour milk. A woman sat behind a metal desk in the hallway. She wore a nurse's scrub top over jeans. She wasn't the Elena we spoke to on the phone. The voice didn't match. "Passports," she demanded. "We want to see the baby. Where is Yakub?" "Processing," she said, not looking up. "Passports, for visa registration." Miguel hesitated, then handed them over. She locked them in a drawer. That was the moment I knew we were in trouble. Real trouble. The kind you don't fix with a phone call to the embassy. "Seat." She pointed to a plastic bench. We waited. An hour passed, then 2. I heard crying from upstairs. Not the cry of one baby, but a chorus. And underneath that sound, a woman's voice screaming in a language I didn't understand, followed by a sharp slap and silence. Miguel looked at me. Terror dilated his pupils. "Laura, we need to leave. We can't leave without our passports, or the baby." Finally, a door opened. A man walked in. He wore a cheap suit and smiled with too many teeth. "Mr. and Mrs. Miller, I am Dr. Dragos. Welcome. You are here for the boy." "Yakub," I said. "Yes, Yakub. There is a small complication." My heart stopped. "What?" "Administrative fees increased. The judge requires incentive. 5,000 more." "We agreed on 10, Miguel stood up. He was a big guy, but he looked small in this hallway. "Agreements change," Dragos shrugged. "You pay, you take boy. You don't pay, you go home. But police might wonder why you buy baby on internet." He had us. The trap snapped shut. We were Americans trying to bypass adoption laws. We were criminals. "We don't have 5,000 more," Miguel said. "We take what you have. Come." He gestured for us to follow. We walked up a flight of concrete stairs. The smell of sour milk grew stronger. He opened a door at the end of the hall. I expected a nursery. I expected cribs, mobiles, maybe a nurse rocking a child. I saw mattresses on the floor,
dirty mattresses. 3 young women sat on them. They looked barely 18. Their eyes were hollow, dark circles bruised into their skin. They wore oversized t-shirts. One of them was pregnant, heavily so. The other 2 held bundles. The room was freezing. A space heater hummed in the corner, doing nothing against the chill. "This is the mother," Dragos pointed to the girl in the middle. She looked terrified. She clutched the bundle to her chest. "Let me see him," I whispered. I stepped forward. The girl shrank back. She whispered something to Dragos. He barked a command at her. She flinched. Slowly, she pulled back the blanket. It was the baby from the photo. Yakub. He was tiny, red-faced, sleeping. He was beautiful. "Take him," Dragos said. She looks away from him.
She doesn't want to give him up, I said. The realization hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't an adoption. This wasn't a mother giving up a child she couldn't afford. This was a farm. "She is paid," Dragos said coldly. "She does her job. You take." The girl looked at me. Tears ran down her face silently. She didn't extend her arms. She held the baby tighter. "Miguel," I choked out. "We can't do this," Miguel said. He grabbed my arm. "Laura, look at her. She's a kid. They are forcing her." "You want baby or not?" Dragos's voice lost its fake warmth. "You travel far. You pay money. You take baby." "No," I said. "Not like this." "Then you leave," Dragos sneered. "But no refund, and no passports until you pay for our time." "Give us the passports," Miguel stepped toward him. Victor appeared in the doorway behind us. He held a baton. "Problem?" Victor asked. The girl on the mattress started to sob. The baby woke up and began to wail. The sound tore through me. It was the sound I had dreamed of for years, the sound of my child, but here, in this room, it sounded like a siren. "Give them the money," Miguel said to me. His voice shook. "Give them everything." "What?" "The money belt. Give it to them. We just want our passports. We want to leave." I fumbled with my sweater. I unclipped the belt. My hands trembled so hard I almost dropped it. I handed the heavy pouch to Dragos. He opened it. He thumbed through the stack of bills. A greedy smile spread across his face. "Good. Fees covered." "Passports," Miguel demanded. Dragos nodded to Victor. Victor reached into his jacket pocket and tossed our passports onto the floor. They landed in the dirt near the girl's mattress. "Go," Dragos said, "before I change mind, before I call police and tell them Americans tried to kidnap child." Miguel dove for the passports. He grabbed my hand. I looked back at the girl one last time. She rocked the baby, kissing his forehead, weeping into the wool blanket. She looked at me. Her eyes didn't hold gratitude. They held pure, distilled hate. I represented the people who did this to her. I was the demand that created this supply. "Laura, move!" Miguel pulled me. We ran. We ran down the concrete stairs, past the fake nurse, out the steel door, into the biting cold. The van was gone. Victor wasn't driving us back. We started walking. The snow crunched under our boots. The wind cut our faces. We walked for miles down the desolate road until a truck stopped. The driver didn't speak English, but he saw the cash Miguel pulled from his sock, our emergency fund, $500 we held back. He drove us to the airport. We didn't speak. We sat in the back of his cab, shaking not from the cold, but from the shock. We changed our flights at the counter, paying fees that maxed out the last credit card. We boarded the plane. Now, I sit in the yellow room. It's been 3 weeks. The silence is different now. It's not just heavy, it's toxic. Miguel sleeps in the guest room. We haven't touched since we got back. We can't. When he looks at me, he sees the woman who dragged him into a human trafficking ring. When I look at him, I see the witness to my shame. We are broke. The debt collectors call every day. We have nothing to show for the thousands of dollars we burned. But the worst part isn't the money. It isn't the marriage crumbling around us. The worst part is that I didn't call the FBI. I didn't call Interpol. I didn't report the website, the clinic, or Dragos. I can't. If I do, I admit to soliciting an illegal adoption. I admit to financing a criminal network. I admit that I walked into a room where women are held captive and bred like cattle, and I walked out just to save my own skin. So I sit in the yellow room. I stare at the empty crib. And sometimes when the house is very quiet, I hear the phantom sound of that baby crying in the arms of a mother who never wanted to let him go. And I know that somewhere, right now, another American couple is landing in that city, carrying an envelope of cash, driven by the same desperate love that turned us into monsters. I know this because yesterday, I logged back into the forum. Elena Caseworker has a new post. Baby Yakub still available, due to failed placement. Immediate availability. Serious inquiries only. I closed the laptop. I didn't type a warning. I just sat there, in the dark, and let the silence eat me alive.
The NDA sat on the desk, 5 pages of dense legal text. I signed it. I did not read it. I needed the money. $22 an hour sounded like a fortune. In Tampa, Florida, rent eats you alive. My landlord wanted his money. The heat outside melted the asphalt on Fowler Avenue. Inside the glass building of Very Safe Solutions, the air conditioning chilled my sweat instantly. The recruiter smiled. He had too many teeth. He told me I would protect the community. He called me a trust and safety analyst. It sounded noble. It sounded important. I walked into the production floor. Rows of gray cubicles stretched to the back wall. No windows. The hum of computer fans drowned out the silence. People stared at their screens. Their faces looked blue in the monitor light. They did not blink. My trainer was a woman named Sarah. She looked tired. She showed me the tool. It had a simple interface, video on the left, buttons on the right. Ignore, delete, escalate to law enforcement. You have 15 seconds per ticket, Sarah said. Maintain 98% accuracy. If you drop below 95, you get a warning. 3 warnings, you terminate. She did not say you get fired. She said, you terminate, like I was a program. I started on a Tuesday. The queue loaded. Video 1, a cat stuck in a tree. Ignore. Video 2, a political rant. Ignore. Video 3, a teenager vaping. Ignore. I relaxed. This felt easy. I calculated my paycheck. I could buy a better car. I could fix the AC in my apartment. Video 4 changed everything. A man sat in a dark room. He held a puppy. I smiled. Then he picked up a hammer. I froze. My finger hovered over the mouse. He swung. I gagged. Acid hit the back of my throat. I slammed the delete button. I marked it animal abuse. I closed my eyes. The sound stayed in my head. A wet thud. A yelp. Silence. Sarah tapped my shoulder. Too slow, Hector. Keep the pace. The queue grows. I looked at her. She chewed gum. She did not care. You get used to it, she said. She told the truth. I got used to it.
By month 3, I saw horrors every day. I saw cartels in Mexico. I saw wars in the Middle East. I saw lonely men in basements doing things that defy God. The brain protects itself. It shuts down the emotion. The videos became data, just pixels. Red pixels meant blood. Pink pixels meant flesh. I learned the patterns. I developed a rhythm. Click, watch, judge. Click, watch, judge. My accuracy score hit 99%. Management gave me a gift card for coffee. I used it. I drank 4 cups a day. I needed the caffeine to keep my eyes open, but I needed the exhaustion to sleep. Sleep became difficult. I closed my eyes and the cue continued. My eyelids became screens. I saw the faces. I stopped eating meat. The texture of raw hamburger reminded me of a video from a garage in Ohio. I stopped going to the beach. The sight of children playing made me panic. I knew what happened to children in the dark corners of the internet. I broke up with my girlfriend Elena. She wanted to touch me. She wanted intimacy. I could not explain why her touch felt like a threat. I could not explain that human bodies now looked like sacks of meat waiting to be opened. "You changed," she said. "I work hard," I replied. "You look through me, like I'm a ghost." She left. I did not chase her. I had a shift at 6 a.m. The paranoia started in the supermarket. I shopped at the Publix on Nebraska Avenue. It was a Tuesday evening. Mothers pushed carts. Old men bought lottery tickets. Normal life. I stood in the cereal aisle. A man stood next to me. He wore a blue polo shirt. He looked normal. He reached for a box of cornflakes. I looked at his hands. They looked strong. I remembered a video from the week before. A man with strong hands and a blue shirt. He strangled a woman in a kitchen. The kitchen had yellow wallpaper. I looked at his knuckles. They looked...
Did he have a scar? The man in the video had a scar. The man turned to me. "Excuse me," he said. I flinched. I dropped my basket. Milk exploded on the floor. "Stay away," I whispered. He frowned. "Buddy, are you okay?" I ran. I left the groceries. I drove home and locked the door. I checked the windows. I checked the closet. The world outside the office felt fake. The office felt real. The video showed the truth. The world of polite smiles and grocery shopping masked the violence underneath. Everyone had a secret. Everyone had a dark side. I saw it for 8 hours a day. I knew who they really were. November came. The humidity in Tampa dropped, but the air still felt heavy. I sat in my cubicle. Ticket number 45982, the video loaded. It was a live stream recording. The camera shook. It showed a park. I knew that park. Lettuce Lake Park. I went there as a kid. I recognized the boardwalk. I recognized the cypress trees rising from the black water. The camera panned. It focused on a woman sitting on a bench. She read a book. The cameraman breathed heavy. The audio picked up his whispers. "She doesn't see me. She has no idea." He pulled a knife, a hunting knife. The blade caught the sun. "Today is the day," he whispered. The video cut. My heart hammered against my ribs. I looked at the timestamp. Uploaded 2 hours ago. I looked at the action panel. Escalate to law enforcement. I clicked it, but that did not feel like enough. The police took too long. They needed subpoenas. They needed warrants. By the time they acted, the woman on the bench would be dead. I looked around. My supervisor, heavy-set man named Mark, talked on his phone near the exit. No one watched me. I opened the user info tab. We were strictly forbidden to do this. We could see IP addresses. We could see device IDs. We could see linked email accounts. User, Gator King 88. IP location, Tampa, FL. ISP, Frontier Fios. GPS coordinates, 28.0712 north and 82.3789 west. I typed the coordinates into a separate map tab. It pinpointed a house, not the park. The uploader's home address. It was in Seminole Heights, 10 minutes from my apartment. I stared at the screen. The rule book said, "Do not investigate, do not intervene. You are an observer." But I was not an observer anymore. I was a witness. I wrote the address on a sticky note. I put it in my pocket. I clocked out early. I told Mark I felt sick. "Don't make it a habit," Mark said. He didn't look up from his phone. I drove to Seminole Heights. The neighborhood had old bungalows and oak trees. Hipsters liked it there. It had craft breweries and expensive coffee shops. I found the house, a yellow bungalow with a peeling white fence. A Toyota Corolla sat in the driveway. I parked down the street. I waited. My hands shook on the steering wheel. I checked the glove box. I had a tire iron. I moved it to the passenger seat. Why did I do this? I did not know. I only knew that the line had vanished. The screen and the street were the same thing now. A man came out of the house. He wore a hoodie, even though it was 80 degrees. He walked to the car. He looked like the guy from the video. Same height, same build. I needed to be sure. I started my engine. I followed him. He drove to a gas station on Hillsborough Avenue. He got out to pump gas. I pulled up to the pump behind him. I got out. I pretended to check my tire. I watched him. He looked normal. He had a beard. He looked tired. He bought a pack of gum inside. I saw his phone. He held it in his left hand. The man in the video held the knife in his left hand. A surge of electricity hit my brain. It was him. It had to be him. I saw the darkness in his aura. I saw the red pixels around his head. He walked back to his car. He looked at me. "Nice car." He mocked me. He knew I knew. He played a game. "I saw you," I said. My voice sounded wet and broken. "What?" he asked. He stopped pumping gas.
"At the park," I said, "with the knife." He looked confused. The confusion was fake. They always lie. I saw the liars every day in the appeals queue. "I didn't do it. It wasn't me. My account was hacked." "Buddy, I don't know what you're talking about," he said. He reached for his car door. He reached for a weapon. He reached for the knife. I did not think. I reacted. I grabbed the tire iron from my seat. I swung. The metal hit his shoulder. He screamed. A real scream. Not a digital one. It was loud. "Predator," I screamed. "I see you. I see what you post." He fell to the concrete. He tried to crawl away. "Help!" he yelled. "Crazy guy! Help!" I raised the iron again. I needed to delete him. I needed to remove the content. If I removed him, the queue would be cleaner. "Delete," I grunted. "Delete, delete, delete." People ran from the store. A man in a uniform tackled me. I hit the pavement. My face scraped the oil-stained concrete. I saw the man I struck. He held his shoulder. He bled. "He's crazy," the man sobbed. "I just asked him about his car." I laughed. I laughed into the asphalt. They did not understand. I saved them. I filtered the world for them. The police station smelled like bleach and old sweat. They interrogated me for hours. They showed me the man's phone. "Look," the detective said. He played the videos on the man's phone. Videos of a baby, videos of a birthday party. No knives, no park. "We checked his IP," the detective said. "He was at work when that video was uploaded. He's a nurse, Hector. A nurse." "He used a VPN. He spoofed it." "No,"
the detective said. "You got the wrong guy. Or maybe there was no guy. We checked the coordinates you wrote down. It's a Starbucks." I shook my head. "The system doesn't lie. The coordinates were precise." "Your mind is broken, son," the detective said. They called VeriSafe Solutions. A lawyer arrived. He wore a gray suit. He did not look at me. He spoke to the detective. Mr. Hector signed a comprehensive waiver. He acknowledged the risk of psychological distress. He signed a non-disclosure agreement regarding our tools. He violated user privacy protocols. He is no longer an employee. He put a document on the table. "We are not liable," the lawyer said. They took me to a facility. White walls, no computers, no screens. I sit here now. I write this with a crayon on paper. The doctors say I have acute PTSD and dissociative disorder. They give me pills. The pills make the world fuzzy. But I know the truth. I close my eyes and I see the queue. It never stops. It scrolls behind my eyelids. I see the nurse. I see the cat. I see the hammer. I am not a person anymore. I am a full hard drive. I am corrupted data. The company is safe. The platform is clean. The users scroll their feeds. They see cats and babies and dances. They do not see the blood. They do not see me. I was the filter. Now, I am the trash. I wait for someone to click delete on me.
Let me tell you how I died without my heart stopping. It didn't happen in a dark alley in the Tenderloin or during a home invasion in my nice house in Pacific Heights. It happened on a sunny Tuesday afternoon, sitting at a sidewalk table outside a coffee shop on Valencia Street. I had an oat milk latte to my left and my iPhone 15 Pro Max to my right. I work in tech investment. Or I did. My entire life, my net worth, my reputation, my memories, everything lived inside that glass rectangle. I prided myself on security. I used complex passwords. I knew what phishing looked like. I thought I was a predator in the digital ecosystem. I turned out to be the plankton. This is the story of how a 16-year-old kid dismantled my existence in 45 minutes. It started at 2:14 p.m. I checked my email. I expected a term sheet for a Series B round I led. The signal bars at the top right of my screen dropped from 4 to 0. Then a new label appeared where the LTE symbol used to be. SOS only. I frowned. San Francisco has bad reception spots, but not here. Not in the middle of the mission. I toggled airplane mode on and off. Nothing. I restarted the phone. The Apple logo glowed. The phone booted up, but the signal never returned. Just that mocking SOS only. I felt a prick of annoyance. I assumed AT&T had a tower down. I asked the barista for the Wi-Fi password. I needed to download that attachment. I connected to the Wi-Fi. A notification banner slid down from the top of my screen. It wasn't an email. It was a system alert from Google. Password changed for account lucas.vaughn@gmail.com. My stomach dropped. It felt like missing a step on a staircase. I didn't change my password. I tapped the notification. It asked me to sign in. I typed my password, a string of characters I had memorized for 3 years. Wrong password. Try again. My annoyance evaporated. Cold fear replaced it. I hit forgot password. Google, helpful as always, said, "We sent a verification code to the number ending in 8892. That is my number." I stared at the phone. No text arrived. Of course no text arrived. I had no signal. The realization hit me hard. It wasn't a tower outage. My phone didn't work because my number didn't belong to this SIM card anymore. Someone else had it. Someone else just got that Google verification code. I stood up. The chair screeched against the pavement. I had to get to a computer. I had to get to a landline. I grabbed my laptop bag and ran to my house. I drove toward my house, weaving through the traffic on Market Street like a maniac. Every red light felt like a physical blow. I burst into my house. The silence of the hallway felt heavy. My wife Sarah was at work. The kids were at school.
I ran to my home office and woke up my iMac. It was hardwired to the fiber connection. I opened a browser. I tried Gmail again. Locked out. Recovery email? It was my old Yahoo account. I tried to log into there. Locked out. Then the notifications started to ping on the desktop. Not emails, bank alerts. Wells Fargo, wire transfer of $25,000 initiated. Coinbase, 2FA enabled on new device. Chase, overdraft alert. My hands shook. I couldn't hit the keys correctly. I grabbed the landline, the dusty phone we kept for emergencies. I dialed AT&T. The automated voice was calm, cheerful. Briefly tell me what you're calling about. Fraud, I shouted. Someone stole my number. I think you said fraud. Is that correct? Yes, let me speak to a human. Music started. Smooth jazz. It played for 4 minutes. In those 4 minutes, I watched my life bleed out on the computer screen. I opened Twitter. I saw a new tweet from my account. It was a photo of me, but edited. Crude, offensive graffiti covered my face. The caption was a racial slur so vile it made me gag. My phone blew up with notifications from LinkedIn. Colleagues, investors, people I respected. They saw the tweet. My reputation incinerated in real time.
Finally, a woman answered the landline. Thank you for calling AT&T. My name is Brenda. How can I help you? Someone did a SIM swap on me, I said. My voice sounded thin, pathetic. Kill the number. Shut it down now. I can certainly help with that, sir. First, I need to verify your identity. Can you tell me your 4-digit PIN?
I don't know. They probably changed it.
Okay. Can you verify the last amount of your bill? I scrambled to find a paper statement in my drawer. I never kept paper. Everything was digital. Everything was in the email I couldn't access. I can't access my bill. Just stop the service. They are stealing everything. Sir, I cannot make changes to the account without verification. It's for your security. The irony tasted like bile. For my security, you gave my number to a thief. Look at the logs. Did someone call in an hour ago? She paused. I heard typing. Yes, sir. Mr. Vaughn called at 2:10 p.m. to request a SIM transfer to a new device. He verified all the information. That wasn't me. He bribed your employee, or he social engineered you. Kill the line. I need a supervisor override for that. Get the supervisor. While she put me on hold, my Coinbase account emptied. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, $200,000 in assets. Gone. Transferred to an untraceable wallet. I watched the balance hit 0. It didn't look real. It looked like a video game glitch. I hung up the landline. It was useless. I needed to call the bank. I reached for the phone again, but it rang before I could dial. The caller ID said, Lucas Mobile. I was calling myself. I picked up. I didn't say anything. Lucas, the voice said. It wasn't a criminal mastermind. It wasn't a Russian bass voice. It sounded like a kid. A teenager. He sounded bored. He was probably eating Doritos. Who are you? I asked. Doesn't matter. I have your life, man. Pretty nice life. Nice house in the photos. Cute kids. Maya and Leo, right? The blood drained from my face. Don't you talk about my children. Relax. I just want a little contribution. The banks are slow. They have limits. You have a safe in your house. I saw the receipt for it in your email. I bet you keep cash there. I'm calling the FBI. Go ahead. They take reports online. Oh, wait, you can't verify your identity online right now? Listen, Lucas, I have access to your iCloud backup. Everything. Every photo, every text you sent your wife, every text you sent that woman Jessica in 2019. My heart stopped. Jessica. A mistake from years ago. Dead and buried. Sarah didn't know. Here is the deal, the kid said. You get $50K in cash. You go to the Bitcoin ATM at the gas station on Divisadero. You deposit it to the address I text you. You have 1 hour. If you don't, I send the chat logs to Sarah, and I delete the baby photos of Maya permanently. No cloud recovery. He hung up. I stood in my office. The silence returned. The afternoon sun hit the dust motes in the air. Everything looked the same, but the world had tilted on its axis. I didn't have $50K in the safe. I had $5,000. I ran to the car again. I drove to the Chase Bank on Van Ness. I didn't have my phone to use Apple Pay. I didn't have my debit card. I left my wallet at home in the panic. I only had my driver's license in the car console. I ran inside. I looked like a madman. Sweat soaked my shirt. I need to withdraw money, I told the teller. Do you have your debit card? No, I have my ID. She took it, she typed, she frowned. Mr. Vaughn, there is a freeze on this account due to suspicious activity. Yes, the activity is the hacker. I am me. Give me my money. I can't unlock it here, sir. You need to call the fraud department. I can't call them. He has my phone. I can call from my desk, she offered. She was trying to be helpful. She dialed. She handed me the receiver. I spent 20 minutes verifying my identity. Mother's maiden name, first pet,
High school mascot. Finally, they unlocked it. Okay, the voice on the phone said. We have restored access. We suggest you change your password immediately via the mobile app. Don't send anything to the mobile, I screamed. I got the cash, not $50K. They wouldn't give me that much without notice. I got $10,000. I got back in the car. It was 3:45 p.m. The deadline was approaching. The kid called my wife's phone number. I knew because the house phone rang again. He was routing calls through VoIP. You're slow, Lucas. I have $10,000, that's it. The bank's locked the rest. 10? That's insulting. I made more than that selling your Twitter handle to a crypto scammer 5 minutes ago. Please, don't delete the photos. They are all I have of their childhood. Send the 10, then we talk. I drove to the gas station. The Bitcoin ATM was in the back, near the beef jerky. It smelled like bleach and gasoline. I fed the bills into the machine, one by one. The machine whirred. It took forever. People bought lottery tickets behind me. They looked at me, a guy in a designer vest feeding cash into a machine with shaking hands. I sent the crypto. I waited. I ran back to the house. I checked the computer. My iCloud folder refreshed on the screen. Deleting. 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 The folders vanished. 2018, 2019, 2020, birthdays, Christmases, first steps. No, 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 I whispered. I clicked furiously. The trash folder was empty. He bypassed it. He nuked it. Then, an email popped up on the screen. It was sent from my own account to my wife's work email. Subject: FWD, Jessica chats. He did it anyway. He took the money and burned me down just for the fun of it. I sat in the chair. I didn't cry. I was too hollow to cry. I stared at the dark screen of my iPhone. It was just a brick of glass and lithium. It wasn't a tool anymore. It was a weapon, and I had pointed it at my own head for years. The fallout lasted for months. The bank investigations were a joke. Chase said it was unauthorized access, but since the credentials were used correctly, thanks to the SMS code, they claimed negligence on my part. They refunded a fraction of the stolen funds. AT&T apologized. They sent a letter. They said an employee at a kiosk in a mall in Florida had accessed my account. He bypassed the PIN requirement. He likely got paid $500 to ruin my life. They fired him. He had no assets. There was nobody to sue. The police took a report. The detective looked tired. He told me these gangs operate out of countries where the FBI has no reach, or they are minors protected by juvenile laws. We'll file it, he said. That meant he would shred it. I never got the crypto back.
My marriage survived, barely. The chats were damaging, but the trauma of the attack gave us a strange, shared ground to rebuild on. Sarah saw how broken I was. But I am a ghost now. I don't have a smartphone. I carry a Nokia flip phone. I bought it at Walmart with cash. I don't use banking apps. I go to the branch. I stand in line with the elderly. I pay my bills with paper checks. I lost my job. The firm couldn't trust a partner who had been so thoroughly compromised. Risk management, they called it. I understood. I was a liability. My credit score is 400. The hacker opened credit cards in my name and maxed them out before I could freeze the bureaus. Dispute letters take months. Creditors still call the house. Sometimes I walk past the coffee shop on Valencia Street. I see people sitting there, staring at their screens. They look so comfortable. They check their balances, they text their lovers, they store their deepest secrets in the cloud. They think the glass protects them. I want to shake them. I want to scream that the glass is thin. I want to tell them that their entire life is held together by a minimum wage employee at a mall kiosk in Florida who wants a new PlayStation. But I don't. I just pull up the collar of my jacket and keep walking. I check my pocket to make sure my paper cash is still there. It's the only thing that's real anymore.